Good. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barak ala sayyidina wa habibina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa ba'd. So today we continue al-awamil al-dakhila ala al-mubtada' wal-khabar. The elements, the grammatical elements that enter a sentence that is a noun-based sentence. Now the translator said grammatical factors. So al-awamil al-dakhil, grammatical factors that will influence the status of a noun-based sentence. So we're studying a noun-based sentence. That's very important that you remember that we're not studying a verb-based sentence. A noun-based sentence is made out of what, Ya Ahmed? What is a noun-based sentence made out of? A mubtada and a khabar, right? So it only has two elements. It's a mubtada and a khabar. Both of them main characters of the sentence. Both of them, because they're main characters and they're unaffected, they're going to be marfu'a, both of them, right? This is the subject of the noun-based sentence, and this is the informative noun. It's a noun that's going to bring information about it, right? So you can choose anything you want. You can think of any sentence, give me a subject, and then tell me something about that subject, right? So tell me, give me something. Give me a noun-based sentence, Ya Hamdi. And they're both marfu'a, right? Yeah. Yeah, very good. The bab is the subject in the noun-based sentence. It's going to be marfu', and the marker of rafa' in a singular noun is what? Dhamma, very good. And then maftuh is the informative noun, right? It's a khabar, and it's always also going to be marfu', right? Because mubtada and khabar are both marfu', so it's going to be al-babu maftuhan. Now what we're studying grammatical factors that enter a sentence that has a mubtada and a khabar, and influence the statuses of the mubtada and the khabar, because they're both marfu'a, right? We studied last time, we studied kana wa akhawatha. Now what is kana and its sisters, or the what else are they called? They're called something else. They're called kana wa akhawatha. What else are they called? They have a different name. The incomplete verbs. They're called af'al al-naqisa, the incomplete verbs. And the incomplete verbs, af'al al-naqisa, what do they do? What do they affect? Do they affect the khabar or the mubtada? Yeah. Khabar. Yeah, they have to the khabar. So tansib al-khabar. So it comes to the khabar and it makes it mansub. So if you were to add kana to this sentence that you came up with, al-babu maftuh, you say kana. So the mubtada stays the way it is, but the khabar is influenced by this entry of kana to the sentence, and because kana al-babu, yes, maftuhan. That's what happens when kana and all its sisters, so asbaha, adha, amsa, bata, sara, laysa, when they enter the beginning of this sentence, it's a sentence that has a mubtada and a khabar, it will influence the khabar. Because what they do from a philosophical or a comprehensive perspective, meaning regarding the meaning, they emphasize or they focus on the information. Kana gives the concept of something being open, an infinite idea in terms of time, or it gives it something in the past, or it gives it some time flow. Al-bab maftuh, without it, that's a noun-based sentence. A noun-based sentence in Arabic is tenseless. It doesn't have time. It's just a fact. Al-bab maftuh. The door is open. We don't bring time into this sentence at all. You put in kana, and now kana brings time to the sentence. But when it brings time to the sentence, it's not bringing time to the door. It's bringing time to the concept of it being open. So it's affecting the concept of it being open. So this main character becomes mansub. And if you remember, when I talked about rafi' and nasb and jar, I told you these represent statuses. Rafi' is a main character unaffected by anything from outside. Nasb, anything mansub, is one of two things. Either a secondary character, in this case, no, it's not, or a main character that is affected or tainted by something, by a factor that entered the sentence. So here, it's a main character, but something affected it from outside. Okay. Now, I need something to... So now we're going to talk about inna wa akhawatha. That's what kana wa akhawatha do. They come in, you could put any of kana wa akhawatha here, you'd have the same thing for the sentence, nothing would change. Now, let's study inna wa akhawatha. Inna wa akhawatuha, they do the opposite. It's like inna wa akhawatha and kana wa akhawatha are two armies and they're always fighting. They do the exact opposite. Kana comes in and affects the khabar, and inna comes in and it affects the mubtada. It's going to do the opposite. What are they called? They're called al-huruf al-mushabbaha bil-fi'l. They're called the prepositions that are similar to verbs. All right. So they are al-huruf al-mushabbaha bil-fi'l. I'm going to write that somewhere here. So what this means is al-huruf, prepositions, al-mushabbaha, bil-fi'l. Prepositions that are similar to verbs. Why are they similar to verbs? Because they have meanings. They actually bring a meaning that is totally different. That's why they're similar to a verb. So it's not, these are words. These are incomplete verbs. Here this is just a preposition. It's just 2 letters or 3 letters. It's not actually a word, and it doesn't have tenses. See, here it has a tense. You can say kana, yakunu, kun. You can say adha, yudhi, idhi. You can say asbaha, yusbihu, asbih. You can say more than one. You can say more than one tense. Here they don't have tenses. It's inna. It's always going to be inna. There's no, you cannot touch it. It is. However, it has a meaning that almost makes it similar to a verb. So it's called al-huruf al-mushabbaha bil-fi'l, inna wa akhawatuha. What do they do? First of all, what do they mean? See, inna almost equals anna. The only difference between inna and anna is that inna comes in the beginning of the sentence and anna is in the middle of the sentence. That's all. So the same word, nothing different. It's just that if you start the sentence with this, you start it with an inna. And if you're in the middle of the sentence, then you don't put inna, you put anna. So just the hamza goes from under, if it's at the beginning of the sentence, to on top if it's the middle. So here at the beginning, and here middle. That's all. There's no difference. What do they mean? It emphasizes. It's an emphasis. That's all it does. It just emphasizes what the subject that you're talking about. It doesn't emphasize the piece of information. It emphasizes the subject. Kana comes and gives something to the informative noun. Inna doesn't. Inna comes and emphasizes the subject that you're talking about. So let's try this immediately and put it here. So what would you do? Would you put inna or anna here? Inna, right? Because the beginning of a sentence, not the middle of a sentence. So we say inna. So inna. Indeed, where I emphasize that the door is open. So if I were to, so I'll show you how this would differ in terms of, dialogue. So inna and kana. So inna and kana. So if I came to you and I told you, what was the status of the door? You'll say kana al-bab maftuhan. Right? It was open. You're talking because I'm asking about the status of the door. But then I come to you and I question whether you and I understand what is open. Like something's open, but maybe it's not. Maybe you're talking about the major door, the main door, or a smaller door, or the window. Maybe we're not clear, so we say inna al-bab maftuh. I'm talking about the door, not talking about the window, not talking about the door of the car, not talking about the book. Inna al-bab maftuh. So it's as if when I say kana, the door is something agreed upon. What we're emphasizing is whether it's open or not, right? And when I'm using inna, it's as if the concept of something being open is agreed upon. It's emphasizing what is open, or that makes sense, and that's the difference. And that's why sometimes in the Quran there's kana Allahu aliman hakima and inna Allah alimun hakim. If you understand that, you understand why they're like that in the ayah. It's based on the context of the ayah and how it's going through something. Is it emphasizing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being knowledgeable, or is it emphasizing the concept of knowledge, attaching it to Allah? I know that there's small differences from a philosophical perspective, but they do make a difference in how we read the Quran. That's why Arabs, when they heard the Quran being recited, how delicate and accurate the Quran was in using these things at the end of the ayat put them at awe, because they had no comeback. Like it's perfect. There's not one tempo lost, as the way I understood it, and that's why they kind of submitted to the Quran at the end. Yes.
What if it was like in Allah kind of?
Yes. So then you have one that is no, he's totally right. Then you have one that is actually mixed. It's inna Allah kana aliman hakima. So the emphasis is for both. And that's how you learn. Wow, some ayat emphasize this, some both. And then you understand, you have to attach that. Now I usually don't go into details when I'm doing tafsir on these things, because I find them a bit complicated, or maybe people don't really, aren't interested in that. But it makes a big difference for a mufassir in terms of what he's looking for in the ayah, and what he's trying to learn from the ayah. These small emphasis, these small usages, whether it's kana or it's inna, and not just when you're talking about the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but any ayah in the Quran. When you add an inna at the beginning or you take it out, you're emphasizing the subject, or you're not emphasizing the subject. For example, Innal Muslimina wal Muslimati wal Mu'minina wal Mu'minati, and then you count 12 different groups. Inna emphasized all of them. So telling you the focus here is not about the reward that's going to happen at the end of the surah. The focus is at the individuals. Focus on that. That's what you're looking for here. You're listening about who they are, not really about the status is something that's agreed upon. It's who we're talking about that's important. Yes, Ya Hamdi.
Aren't they supposed to answer the...
Yes, alhamdulillah. I was hoping someone would notice the problem with this sentence. So what's wrong here? What do I have to do here?
It's like in the babu, it's in the babu.
Very good. So because it comes and it affects the mubtada, like we said, it affects the mubtada, right? It doesn't affect the khabar. So this guy is now he's a mubtada. He is the main character, he's the subject of the sentence, but he's been affected. Something has come and influenced him. So what happens to him? That's the point of nasb. Nasb says, main character affected from an external source or external factor in the sentence, or secondary character. So, innal baba maftuhan. Okay, very good, Ya Hamdi. Now let's look for a different sentence, and look for a different preposition. Inna. So what's ka'anna mean? Ka'anna means something is like something else. So it's drawing a simile, right? So it's, this one here draws a simile. What's a good way to put it in English? Do they have a? No, they don't even have one.
Face is like a tomato.
So let's.
I think last time you said as though.
Yeah, as though would work. As though, or like. Like. Just draws a simile.
What about like...
Thank you. Ahsant. So the sentence that he very well, he properly brought up is hum humurun mustanfira. Hum is the mubtada. We said the mubtada can be sometimes implicit, right? Like a pronoun. And humur is the plural of zebras, or wild horses, right? Or wild donkeys, mules. So humurun. And they're both marfu'a. What is the marker of rafa' an hum? What's the marker of rafa' an hum? There is no, because it's a pronoun. There's no marker on rafa' on pronouns, only on nouns and verbs, right? There's no markers on pronouns. So humurun, what's the marker of rafa' an humurun, Ya Hamdi? Dhamma, humurun, right? So this is a khabar. And this here is a description, it's a sifa. It's a description, so you can take this out. Hum humur is more than enough for the sentence to survive, of course. So hum humur. Take this out if you want for a second. So now we have a mubtada, we have a khabar. So if we bring in Mr. Ka'anna, right? Have him enter the sentence, it turns into like something like this. Ka'anna Ka'annahum humur. It is as though they are like, they is the mubtada, so they are humur, right? That's how they are wild horses or wild donkeys. It is as if they are like wild donkeys. So this comes in Surah Al-Muddathir. It's saying, why is it, Ya Rasulullah, when you come and speak to them the Quran, كَأَنَّهُمْ حُمُرٌ مُسْتَنْفِرَةٌ, it's like they are wild donkeys running in different directions. Why is it that they come? فَرَّتْ مِنْ قَسْوَةٍ, as if they're running away from a lion or from a hunter. Why are they? Yes, go ahead.
Would mustanfira not be the khabar, because this pronoun as opposed to a noun?
Yeah, so it's a pronoun, so in this is a sentence without ka'annahum. Hum humur, that's the sentence. They are يعني wild donkeys here in this sentence. Mustanfira describes humur. Humur is the plural, right, of wild يعني donkeys. Mustanfira means that are stampeding, right? So this is describing humur. It's describing what type of donkeys they are. So it's a description. I mean, so because the sentence would live without it. Hum humur, that's a sentence. So that means it's not essential part of it. So كأنهم حمر مستنفرة is the ayah, obviously, right? So what does كأن affect again? مبتدا or khabar? Which one does it affect? Mubtada. Which is the mubtada here? Hum. Do we see whether it's mansoob or not? There's no marker, so it stays the way it is. You don't say كأنهم. No, it's كأنهم. It says nothing changes because it's a pronoun. You can't see the marker of rafa or nasab on it anyway, and this stays normal. But this is, of course, a difficult situation. And this is not an easy one. Yes, sorry.
Why is how? I think the meaning of you say not.
Okay, so hum mustanfira, they stampeding is not a sentence. Hum humurun mustanfira, they are wild donkeys stampeding, it becomes a sentence. If you take mustanfira stampeding out altogether, they are wild donkeys, it works. It's a sentence. It may not be a beautiful sentence, but it's a sentence. It has enough within it. Hum mustanfira is not a proper sentence because hum is the plural male third party. Mustanfira is a singular feminine noun. So they don't even work together. But mustanfira as a description to humur, it works perfectly. So hum mustanfirun would have become mubtada and khabar, fine, right? But then even if you put humur in, كأنهم حمر mustanfirun, then mustanfirun would also be description to humur. Or it could become a second khabar. In the word mustanfirun, it could be a second khabar, but that's something I'm not going to get into. First khabar, second khabar, third khabar, let's leave that alone for now because it's too complicated. But mustanfira wouldn't work. It's only works as a description to humur. There's no other way for it to actually function in the sentence properly. I'll give more examples inshallah in a second. So let's say,
I think the quick follow-up question to that is whether mubtada can be both a noun or a pronoun.
so mubtada, when we studied it a few weeks ago, so mubtada can do two things. A mubtada can be what? It can be zahir, it can be a noun, like an apparent noun, or it can be implicit. Implicit means either it's going to be a pronoun or an estimated noun that's not even there. Khabar, on the other hand, can be what? How many things can khabar be? Right? It can be a bunch of stuff. It can be a noun, it can be a semi-sentence, two semi-sentences, or it can be two full sentences, like a noun-based sentence or a verb-based sentence. So khabar has more than one thing it can be, but mubtada can only be one of two things. It's either a noun or an implicit noun, like a pronoun or an estimated noun. So hum is definitely the mubtada here because of the subject. We're talking about them. Hum. If you take out hum, you don't have a sentence anymore. You just have wild donkeys. Right? We're left with structure. Okay, so let's come up with a simpler. So I'll give you why ka'anna is special, because ka'anna allows certain sentences that to exist that wouldn't exist otherwise. So al-layl, night, nahar, night is day. Unless you're Shakespeare, no one understands what you're saying, right? Unless this is a very specific, it doesn't work. But when you put ka'anna here, it's as though night is day, right? You understand? Oh, now it makes sense. I understand what you mean. Maybe because there's so much noise or so much light or whatever, but now it makes sense. So ka'anna, because it's drawing a simile between two things, it allows sentences that have a mubtada and khabar that wouldn't make sense otherwise to make sense, because it draws a simile. Does that make sense? And ka'anna, that's what it does. It draws a simile. It says something is as though it's something else, or it's like something else. So it allows certain sentences that wouldn't otherwise actually work had it not been there. And of course, ka'anna is used in the Quran. It's a common usage. So lakinna, yes, you want to say something? Okay. So lakinna, yes. Okay, so lakinna means or except. So either way, right? And differentiate between, I put a shadda here, and here, and here. Take off the shadda, they don't function anymore. Meaning you will find in Arabic in. Not one of these guys. You will find an. Definitely not one of these guys. You will find, كأن is hard to find, even though they do exist, but they're hard to see. لكن or lakini with a kasra, not the same word. They don't function the same, they don't do the same job. So I put the shadda on inna, anna, ka'anna, lakinna. Very important that you observe the shadda. If it's not there, they just work as a normal preposition that don't affect the sentence at all. لكن الراسخون في العلم. See, الراسخون is a mubtada. It was supposed to be affected by lakin, but lakin doesn't have a shadda, so it's not لكن الراسخون, or it would be لكن الراسخين. That's how it would sound. But because lakin here is a preposition that is just an additive preposition, just adding, it's like wow, it doesn't do anything to the sentence. But لكن becomes except, you're putting an exception, or you're saying but, or however. Right? So however would also be a good way to translate لكن. Consider estimations the best I can do in terms of translating. So let's say, give me an example. Yeah, go ahead. Very good. So the sentence in Arabic is أكثرهم I want two nouns. Just to make this easy, I can do this, but you're going to get confused. لكن أكثرهم. Let's just make it أكثرهم مؤمنون. أكثرهم, most of them are believers. So this is the mubtada. مؤمنون is the khabar. It's informative now. So what is the marker of rafa on the word أكثرهم? Yalla Hamdi, if you can tell me, you get 5 points. Where's the marker of rafi' on the word أكثرهم? It's a mubtada. What's the marker of rafi' on it? On the ra. Ahsant. 5 points for Hamdi. Hamdi's ahead of everyone by 5 points. خلاص. أكثرهم. And what's the marker of rafi' on the word mu'minun? The waw itself. It could be mu'mineen, right? Mansub or majroor will be mu'mineen. But mu'minun is why? Because it's a sound masculine plural, صح? Okay. Now, so أكثرهم mu'minun. Now if you bring in lakinna to the mix, you say lakinna. However, or except, or but, most of them are mu'min. So you can see that lakinna comes in, is a conjunction, it comes into the sentence and it puts two pieces together. Or it takes two pieces away from each other, meaning it's connecting meanings as it comes in. It's saying that what's coming next is a bit different, or is conceptually a challenge to what we just talked about, right? Or is a result to what we just talked about, or a second step. So and that's what lakinna does. So lakinna, it's one of inna wa akhawata. What does it affect, ya Hamdi? Does it affect the mubtada or the khabar? Right? Inna and its sisters will always expect the mubtada. So the mubtada is going to become what? Mansub, right? So how do we turn it into mansub in this case? Aywa. So لكن أكثرهم مؤمنون. Even though that's not, Yeah, 1 point for Yusuf. Yeah, yes.
Is that wouldn't that be a complex sentence? Wouldn't that be a complex sentence?
Why?
Because the akthara and then the hum and then the mu'min.
So akthar is a noun, and mu'minun is a noun, right? Hum is it's a pronoun, and attaching pronouns to nouns doesn't change the status of the sentence at all. So attaching pronouns to nouns doesn't do anything, doesn't make it complex. A complex sentence needs a verb in the mix. Put a verb somewhere here, and then you have a complex sentence. But as long as you have nouns and pronouns, then it's not a complex sentence.
Can lakinna be in the middle of a sentence?
Yeah, you'll always find something before lakinna.
So
You'll never find a sentence that starts lakinna.
you said inna is, if it's in the middle of a sentence, it'll be anna?
Yeah.
Can you give examples of where it's anna? Like
Yeah. Sure.
how would you use it?
What's a good Quranic example?
Are you looking for a Quran example?
So ذلك ليعلم أني لم أخنه بالغيب وأن الله لا يهدي كيد الخائنين. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ, let him know, that is him to know, that indeed I did not betray him in ghaib, and indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide the intentions or the plans of those who betray others. So وَأَنَّ, so it comes in the middle. The Quran is full of it, ya Shaykh.
You'll never have inna in the middle of a sentence?
If you do, it means that this is the beginning of a sentence. So if you do, it's telling you, it's actually, this is what you learn. So if you see in the middle of a sentence, that it means it's saying that this is a beginning, a new sentence, or something that you have to deal with as its own its own statement, not attached to us before, meaning we're cutting the attachment. But if it's attached, if we're just talking in a continuous manner, then the usage of this emphasis, because all it does is emphasize, all it does, then it's going to be anna. All it does is emphasize, it doesn't do anything else. Ka'anna brings a simile, draws a simile into it actually brings some form of likelihood. Lakinna is but, except, however, it kind of breaks the sentence and starts something new. Layta is very different. Yes?
Later, like I wish.
So layta and la'alla are very, yes, go ahead.
Like rather?
Layta means, no, I hope or I wish. Actually, I wish is much more proper. Layta is I wish.
For example, if you say like, ليتني ألعب.
Yeah, so I wish I was playing. Right?
Like, I'd rather play.
Rather is ufaddil. It's a whole verb. Rather has a verb that works for it. Late brings wishfulness. Yeah, later brings tamanni, just wishfulness. It doesn't bring. Rather is more of a statement of practicality. Later is just a wish. I wish I was Superman. I always wish I could fly. Right? I wish I could fly. Yes.
Can I give an example?
Yes. Give an example.
Yeah, ليتني.
So laytani kuntu turaba. But all the Quranic examples are always complex. They have more than one thing. But you're right. That's 100% right. But I want something more simple.
So in slang, is it like tanzara? Get it?
Yes, of course, in slang, that's what it is. Definitely, 100%. So, al-jaw, the weather, jameel. And then you look at me and say, no, the weather is horrible outside. And the forecast is that it's going to be horrible tomorrow and the day after and the day after. So I play around with this sentence. Of course, this is marfu'. And I say, layta. Al-jaw, yeah, you can add yeah, no problem. So yeah, as nida, it kind of brings more. It's for theatrical effects, like it's just drama. But so later, what does it affect? Ya Hamdi, quickly, what does it affect? What happens to al-jaw? What happens to it? Yes, Ahsant, very good. So later al-jawwa. So later al-jawwa jamilun. I wish the weather was nice, because the focus is on the weather, not on niceness. Right? The focus here is on the weather. Right? It's not on the. So that's what inna and akhwat actually do. They focus on the subject and they come in, they emphasize the subject. Yeah.
Yeah, laytani kuntu turaba. The pronoun is laytani.
Yeah. So the pronoun is
That's why.
is going to be affected.
That's why kuntu it's like.
Kuntu the sentence of kuntu turaba is the khabar of layta. It just becomes a bit more. We'll do these inshallah, but they're just more complex. I don't want to make it. So what is al-jawwa called here in this sentence? It's called ism layta. And if it was inna, you would say ism inna. If it was ka'anna, you would say ism ka'anna. And here this is called what? Khabar layta. So what we know so far is the ism for kana wa akhawata will stay marfu'an because it's not affected. And the khabar for inna wa akhawata will stay marfu' because it's not affected. Right? So these ones will stay marfu' because it's not affected. However, the ones that are affected will become mansoob. They'll change. So layt al-jawwa jameel. I wish the weather was better or was nice.
That sounds so weird.
But that's how you say it normally in Arabic. It's totally. Yeah, I know. It's okay.
So what's the difference between saying like layta turaba as opposed to ya layta?
So yeah, it becomes more of a dua.
More dramatic.
Yeah, oh, I wish. You kind of yeah. So yeah, again, it's just theatrical effect or the dramatic effect. Yeah.
Adding oh in a sentence.
Yeah, exactly. So you just yeah. So yeah is added to certain things, and wa yeah and wa are added to certain sentences to make things a bit more. It's like you're calling, you're announcing, you're expressing either sorrow or happiness or. So later also is used to express regret. That's why ليتني كنت ترابا, I wish I were, I would turn to dust, or I never lived, or I never existed. So it's used to express regret. But to simplify things, it's I wish and I hope for لعل, or maybe this will happen. لعل, hopefully, or it'll happen. And it's used to express anticipation of something to come. So for example, here you would say, sorry? Yeah, so there's a lot of that in the Quran, but because it's complex, I want to look for something simple. Yes. So لعل الله يحدث بعد ذلك أمرا. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or hopefully Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring something forward. They'll bring some ruling forward to make it easy. لعلكم تعقلون, or لعلكم توقنون, لعلكم تؤمنون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell you, I did this for you and this for you, this for you, and hope that inshallah you will believe, or in hope that you will understand, or in hope that you will comprehend, or in hope that you will find certainty. So لعل has the concept of hope in it, and later has the concept of wishful thinking, but it also has regret, meaning later can be used for regret. That's because when you think about it, if you made a mistake, I wish I didn't make it, because you can't hope you didn't make it, can you? Can you hope you didn't do something bad in the past? No, because you already did it. But you can wish you didn't. That's why wish is proper here, because you can only express regret with the word wish. I wish I didn't do that, because it's already gone. But hope is something to come. So later works more about issues that are in the past or cannot be changed, and لعل kind of works more with things that can be changed or in the future, just to kind of make it as simple as possible. So let's use a sentence. Let's come with a sentence that works here. Yeah, that doesn't even work for لعل. That's impossible in our case. So yes. Yes, yours very لعل الله awesome, but it's just so لعل الله, Allah here is اسم لعل, so it's منصوب لعل الله. But where is خبر لعل? يحدث, it's a whole sentence. So the khabar here is a sentence, and I want to just make it simple. I just want to keep it nouns. Just I know. I just I know. I just don't want to make it too difficult for everyone at the beginning. But no, you're right. We did, and we will do examples of that, inshallah. I just want to make it as simple as possible at the beginning. So the same thing is the hopefulness. The ya is the usm, and ablugu, the sentence ablugu al-asbab, which is a verbal sentence, is going to be the khabar of la'alla.
I hope my dad gets a present, or I hope I get a present.
Sorry?
I hope I get a present.
So maybe that's a nice one. Let's say la'alla. No. So these ones aren't mubtada. They're what are they? They're prepositions that enter the sentence. They're factors. Yeah. So you have ism la'alla, which is usually the mubtada, and khabar la'alla, that is usually the khabar, right? So ism la'alla used to be the mubtada in the sentence before la'alla came, and khabar la'alla used to be the khabar before la'alla came. But when la'alla comes in, it affects the mubtada. So the mubtada is mamsoob now, and it's called ism la'alla, and the khabar stays marfu', but it's called khabar la'alla, right? So al-nasr. So an-nasru qareeb. So when it enters the sentence, it affects it. It makes a difference. So an-nasru qareeb, mubtada and khabar, right? Victory is near. Right? Victory. لعل الساعة تكون قريبة. Also in the Quran. So an-nasru qareeb, victory is clear. If you bring لعل and you have it enter the sentence, so لعل النصر قريب, I hope victory is near, or hopefully or maybe inshallah victory is near. That's how la'alla works. So what does it affect, ya Hamdi, here?
It affects the
Mubtada. So what happens to the mubtada? It becomes mansoob, right? So what happens? Nasra. And now Nasr, that used to be mubtada a second ago, right? Used to be just a second ago. Now it's called ism la'alla. And this used to be a khabar a second ago, it's called khabar la'alla. And depending on whatever you put here, you just change the name. So if it's whatever it is. These are simpler than these ones. These are much more difficult. Why? Because they have tenses. كان يكون كن. يعني أصبح يصبح أصبح. It's more complicated. Here it's straightforward. They're pretty straightforward. They enter a jumla onto a sentence that has a mubtada and a khabar, and they affect the mubtada, making it mansoob. That's all they do. Very simple. What do? Each one does something different. Inna, anna, emphasize. Ka'anna, draw a simile or say something is similar to something else. Lakinna, exception, however. But later brings wishful thinking or regret. La'alla, anticipation and hope. That's all they do. That makes sense? They're not very difficult. You can take any English, any noun-based sentence and just pop in la'al, one of inna and akhawata, and it'll be quite simple. Now I want to do a comparison between the two families, because they're families. They're akhawat, kana and his sisters, and inna and his sisters. Let's compare the families. Yeah, but that's not possible. Yeah, that would work. So if you say later Ramadan da'im, that would work. Why? Because it's not possible. So like I told you, it's wishing. It has to be wishful thinking, something that can't happen. So if you say la'alla, means there's some possibility of it happening. If there's no possibility, you use the wrong. So the Arabs would pay attention to that. La'alla Ramadan da'im. They would look at you, so why is the Prophet ﷺ coming up with a ruling? That's what they would think you're doing. Did you hear something that Rasulullah is thinking of making Ramadan forever? Later Ramadan da'im, they know it's just wishful thinking. I love Ramadan so much. So using these different words brings in understanding that it's totally different. People are like, okay, what have you heard? If you use la'alla instead of later, right?
So in that case, la'alla ghadan Eidun?
Yeah, so that would be what? That would be if tonight is the 29th night, right? Right? If you're hoping tomorrow is Eid. But if you're in the middle of the month, لعل غدا عيد, you'll say, well, what are you talking about? But if you say later غدا عيد in the middle of the month, understand that you're tired of fasting. You wish tomorrow was Eid. So understand how these differ? They differ like that. Lakinna is, however, except, but kanna brings a simile, and inna just emphasizes stuff. They're pretty simple. Now, you brought up a nice example at the beginning where inna and kana enter the sentence at the same time. Now, based on what we've explained, that these guys affect the mubtada and these guys affect the khabar. If they're going to enter the sentence together, who has to be first?
Inna.
Why?
Because the example is inna Allah kana.
You're right, but why? Think about it logically.
It affects the mubtada.
Yeah, because the mubtada is first, right? The mubtada is always before the khabar, or mostly before the khabar. So it doesn't make sense for you. If it's coming in later, it's not going to affect anything. Like the thing that's going to affect is behind it. Like you have to put me before this guy so I can affect him. So if you put me behind him, I'm useless now. So you have to put me at the beginning. So if you say, you can't say kana Allahu inna alima, inna alim doesn't work. Inna doesn't. But you say inna Allah kana aliman hakim, because kana affects the khabar. Kana doesn't care if the mubtada is behind it. It doesn't care. It doesn't affect it anyway. Understanding the issue here? They affect certain things, so they don't really care if something is there or not. Does that make sense? Okay.
In is also, as you said, it's the beginning of the sentence.
Yeah, but let's say anna, it still wouldn't work. Right? It still wouldn't work. You couldn't do it because they affect the mubtada. So Allahu.
But kana can be in the beginning of the sentence.
Allahu qadir. Mubtada, khabar, marfu'. Understood? Now let's mess this sentence up. Let's bring in things to affect it. So let's start with the first one. Inna Allah. Aywa, bravo alayk. So inna, when you bring in inna to emphasize this meaning, we emphasize the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We emphasize that He specifically is whatever we're talking about later. We've already established an understanding of ability. That ability exists, but Allah is the real one who has the ability. So that's where I emphasize. It's Him, inna Allah. Not anyone, it's Him specifically. So you're emphasizing Allah. So what happens? You affect the name, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now it becomes mansoob. Now, inna Allah qadir, that's a perfect sentence, no problem. Let's enter one of kana wa akhawata into the mix. What would you say? Inna Allah kana. Kana doesn't mind being here because it affects the khabar anyway. It doesn't really affect the mubtada, so it doesn't make a difference. What does it do to the khabar when it comes? Qadira, right? Because it does nasab to al-khabar. So now, inna Allah kana. And now what kana says is that it gives His ability subhanahu wa ta'ala an infinite meaning. That it's always been like that. It is like that today and always will be. So indeed Allah specifically has always been qadir, in contrast to saying Allah has ability. Or Allah is qadir. Allah has abilities. You're saying is indeed, specifically Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always had the ultimate abilities. Changes from an Arabic, from a linguistic perspective, you are, and of course the ayah would have enough context in it for that to mean something to you. Because Wallahu Qadir exists in the Quran. You do have an ayah, right? In Surah Al-Mumtahina, صح? Wallahu Qadir. Surah Al-Mumtahina, Wallahu Qadir, that's it. Nothing entered. Wallahu Qadirun, Wallahu Ghafurur Rahim. What is it talking about? عسى الله أن يجعل بينكم وبين الذين عاديتم منهم مودة. Hopefully, or in the future, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put between your hearts and the hearts of those whom are your enemies today, love. If he emphasized, it would seem as if that's really hard. Had he emphasized his name or emphasized the ability, it would make you, from an Arabic perspective, you would think, oh, that's impossible to do. But he didn't emphasize anything, because Wallahu Qadir, Allah is able, it's simple. it takes it, Wallahu Ghafurur Rahim, and He'll forgive whatever happened before. No emphasis says that this is a simple thing. And then on the other hand, Inna Allah la yaghfiru an yushraka bihi. Indeed, exclusively Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not forgive those who commit shirk. So the emphasis tells you the difficulty of the action, the importance of it, or the status of it. And then if he doesn't emphasize at all, he's telling you this is simple. I don't need to emphasize anything here. Wallahu Qadir. Understanding how this works? Okay.
Would Allah become ism inna?
Yes.
And the rest of the sentences.
And kana qadira will become the khabar of inna.
Yeah.
The sentence kana qadira will become the khabar of inna. Very good. Let's try two sentences, the same sentence, and put inna and then put kana, or put different ones and see how they differ in meaning. So,
but you wouldn't say that qadira is also the khabar kana?
sorry?
So, inna Allah kana qadira.
Qadira is khabar kana.
But it's also, but the whole sentence is also
Khabar inna.
Yes.
Umaru Adil. He's just and fair. Okay. So let's have two things enter this sentence. Okay. So two things enter the sentence. So the first one. Okay, take the first one. No. Radiyallahu anhu, Umar was very adil. Yeah. So. No, let's start with kana wa akhawata first, just so the meaning makes sense. Asbah. Let's say kana. Just use the simple kana. So kana Umaru. What does kana affect? It affects the khabar, right? So affects adil is going to be what? Instead of adilun, it's going to be adilan, because it affects the khabar. Now what this means is Umar has always been, and used to be when he was around, just. So we've given the fact that he was just, we gave that time, and we gave that context. When you say Umar adil, that is a statement. It's a statement that is tenseless. Kana Umaru adilan, you're talking about the tense. And you're not emphasizing Umar, you're emphasizing, Umar is already an established figure, we're emphasizing justice for him. Right? Now, so it's as if, yes, go ahead.
Just a quick question on kana. How do you distinguish between the atemporal kana and the temporal kana?
As in what? Give me.
Right? That is not
Yeah. So it's very simple. Whether we're talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or someone else.
Okay, so by context.
Oh yeah, yes. If you're talking about Allah, then kana means always has been, it's atemporal, like I said. And if it's talking about anything else, then it could also mean that, but the context is always going to dictate what we're talking about. It's always how we're running with the sentence really, and what was because there's always something before and after the sentence that will kind of lead you. We're just studying a sentence that is kind of isolated, so I have to give you some context so this makes sense. So kana Umaru adilan, it's like we're sitting around and we're talking about the attributes of Umar, and then we disagree on some attributes, and I say kana Umar adilan. You say kana zalim, I say kana adilan. So kana here emphasizes his adil.
So in this context, then the question would be, how do we know that we're saying Umar was just?
Or always has been.
Is just.
Yeah, so as it always has been, it all comes to the context of the sentence and just how we're talking about it. That's all that it comes to. أتفضل.
عادلا هي حال ولا
عادلا خبر كان. خبر كان. So let's bring the other one, the simple one. So inna. So what happens now? Yeah, so now this guy goes back to being the khabar that is marfu', unaffected, and Umar, the name, becomes mansub because it's been affected by inna. So inna Umara adilun. So now the emphasis is not about on his justice. Justice is already been established that exists, but we're just emphasizing Umar. We're emphasizing him specifically being adil. If you're like, well, I don't see the difference. There's a difference. There's a contextual difference to how the sentence. So if you're disagreeing with me and saying Umar used to be zalim, and I say Inna Umar adil, that's actually very rude. That's saying that your opinion is completely unimportant. Be quiet. This is the statement that matters. Kana Umar adilan. I'm discussing with you. I'm telling you what I think and what I'm emphasizing. Inna Umar adil. That is a statement that is undebatable. It has no tense to it whatsoever, and I'm dismissing everything you say. They say the difference. So these little things, the Arab made sense to them, and of course, okay. Jazakumullah khair. We'll finish here.